Step 12, backing up a bit. The 10th step clears away the errors of the present so that we can work on the 11th step. Without this step, it is unlikely that we could experience a spiritual awakening, practice spiritual principles in our lives, or carry a sufficient message to attract others to recovery. There is a spiritual principle of giving away what we have been given in Narcotics Anonymous in order to keep it. By helping others stay clean, we enjoy the benefit of the spiritual wealth that we have found. We must give freely and gratefully that which has been freely and gratefully given to us. And that brings us to step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. We came to Narcotics Anonymous as the result of the wreckage of our past. The last thing we expected was an awakening of the spirit. We just wanted to stop hurting. The steps lead to an awakening of a spiritual nature. This awakening is evidenced by changes in our lives. These changes make us better able to live by spiritual principles and to carry our message of recovery and hope to the addict who still suffers. The message, however, is meaningless unless we live it. As we live it, our lives and actions give it more meaning than our words and literature ever could. I got sober and clean the first time and the second time after my long relapse because there were consequences right in front of me. And the consequence in my case was that I was fitting to lose my job. And I needed my job. I had not only myself to care for, but I had a child whom I had brought into the world, whom nobody else wanted. Nobody else wanted that kid. His daddy didn't want another baby. My mother said, I'm not going to be bothered, not doing that. And she meant it. She never bonded with her grandchild. I brought that child into the world, and it was my responsibility to care for him. And so this consequence in front of me was I was about to lose my job. I got sober and clean the first time because, yes, I wanted to keep my job, but also because I wanted to stop hurting. I wanted to stop hurting, and the only way I knew to stop hurting was to use, but that wasn't working anymore. I just wanted to stop hurting. I wanted the pain and the consequences to go away. And when I came on relapse, the same thing. I wanted the pain and the consequences to go away because it wasn't working anymore. I mean, I wasn't getting any euphoria. I was just trying not to be dope sick. Just riding around with stuff in my car and my bag all the time. It was a humiliating way to live. It was always humiliating. And I can remember the one time that I actually put a 5-liter box. This was before 911. That I actually put a 5-liter box of wine in my luggage, and remember the person just looking at me. You know, that horrible look that people give when they know someone is addicted. It's part sadness and part revulsion. We talk about that in the rooms. A friend of mine talks about the day that her kids were in the back seat. She had hidden, you know, we always have to have our supply, right? And she thought she'd done a pretty good job hiding it under the under the seat. But she came to a sudden stop and package rolled out. And her son picked it up and held it up so she could see it in the rearview mirror. Said, Mom. So we want that to go away. We want to be able to look in the mirror, because some of us actually stop looking in the mirror. We don't actually look at ourselves when we're putting our makeup on. We don't really look at ourselves when we're doing our hair. Look at the hair, but don't look at my face. Look at the brow, but don't look at my face, right? Because I don't want to see me because of who I've become. And then these 12 steps and this spiritual awakening. And all of a sudden I can look in the mirror and I can face humanity. And I don't have to worry about anybody looking at me with revulsion again. There's not a day in my life where I have to worry about that somebody's going to look. Now, there are people who don't like me. Maybe there are people who think that my kind shouldn't be wherever I am, but that's not the same as revulsion. Revulsion is that you make me sick look. And we know that all too common. To be brought back from that, to be brought back into fully participating in the human race, that engenders a whole lot of gratitude, a whole lot of gratitude. And for me personally, all I can do with that gratitude is to give back. Someone sent me a text and said, it seems like you must put your life on hold, this event go off. And I do, really I do, for a week, because there's a few days leading up to it and trying to line everything up and all that. And the 4 days, and I do. I put my life on hold to make that happen. And I will gladly do it. When I hear people coming in, especially newcomers for the first time, and when I hear people coming back who have been away and they thought they were good, and so they stopped coming to meetings and they stopped working the program, and guess what happened? When we first begin to enjoy relief from our addiction, we run the risk of assuming control of our lives again. See, that's what I did after 8 years of recovery, 8 years of being in the rooms, working the program, having a sponsor, being a service, and being in the middle of the herd where it was safe. I started to assume control of my life again. I thought, I got this, I'm good. Drugs and alcohol are not a factor. Or just not having, no, I'm good. And I'm working full time and I'm going to graduate school full time. I'm getting A's, thank you very much. I've got a teenage son and he's doing well. He's everything a kid could be, he's a good kid. I don't have to worry about him. And I'm just stroking, doing well. And slowly, I didn't realize I was doing it. I started to take back control of my life again. I forgot all the agony, all the pain, all the abandonment, all the revulsion. The NA Big Book says, our disease controlled our lives when we were using. It is ready and waiting to take over again. We quickly forget that all our past efforts at controlling our lives failed. By this time, most of us realize that the only way we can keep what was given to us is by sharing this new gift of life with the still suffering addict. This is our best insurance against relapse to the torturous existence of using. We call it carrying the message, and we do it in a number of ways. Before I go back to the Big Book, I want to share a story with you. Many years ago, a friend passed away it was really strange. He passed away from heat stroke, a hardworking man. And I mean, I know about heat stroke, but I don't know. He just looked healthy to me. And I didn't expect that to happen. None of us did. But he passed away from heat stroke. And huge funeral. And I can remember the family just kind of looking at each other like, who are they talking about? Like, who are they talking about? Especially the minister. And they were genuinely shocked. And then afterwards, there were a number of people who shared at the service and the families. And then at the repast afterwards, people continued to share, and person after person after person was sharing with the family how this person had helped to save their life, had shared about how this person knew where the houses were, had gone into the drug houses and pulled them out, how this person had done 12-step calls. That's what we call it when, usually 2 or more people, go to tell someone about this program that we have found. That's called 12-stepping. Just person after person talking about how they were the only person who would take the call when they were in jail. Nobody else would even take a call from them. All these testimonies about how this person had helped them to find a new life. And the family was clueless. Why? Do you know there are people who will always hold you in your history? And maybe your history is not this dramatic. Maybe you're not a drug addict, but maybe you just used to be a certain way, but you're not like that anymore. But there are still those people who will always hold you in that history. And if somebody says something good about you, they're like, that's what it looked like. We know them. We know the real them. Or, oh yeah, we remember when they was in the streets and this and blah, 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 blah. And it can be painful to hear. But this is what the family didn't know, because they used to have this family dinner on Sunday, like that television show, everybody came to mama's house. And a lot of them were still using. Now, many of them were not alcoholics or addicts, but some of them did like to drink a lot. But everybody who likes to drink a lot is not an alcoholic. There are recreational users of some drugs, right? But there was definitely going on. And at first, in the early days, he stopped going because it was kind of going to be kind of triggering. And in the program, we say sometimes you need to take somebody with you. And then he started bringing a friend who was sober. And after a while, he was okay with being there by himself, but he wouldn't stay long. He would eat, and then he would say, well, I gotta go. And they said, he ain't really all that different. He's still just as selfish as he used to be. I mean, we over here with mama, but he can't hang around with us. He can't watch a ball game with us. He can't stay the day, but he got to run off and do whatever. See, they had no idea of all the lives that he was helping to save. Because when he left his mother's house on Sunday, he had a commitment in the program. And one of the commitments that he had, the hospitals and institutions, we call it the H&I committee, where we take the message inside. We take the message into psychiatric institutions, we take it to jails, we take it into prisons, we take it into rehabs, we take it into people, we take it to where people are locked up and can't come out. And that was huge for him in his own recovery. That was one of the ways that he really enjoyed carrying the message. And so when he left on Sunday after dinner, he was going to help other people to get clean and stay clean. And they knew nothing about that. And they're still holding him in his past. See, he's still just as selfish as he used to be. He just come, get something to eat and leave. He don't care nothing about the family. And they didn't know that he had a whole new family, a worldwide family. And the man was amazing in what he was doing, because in the 12th step, we practice the spiritual principles of giving the NA message of recovery in order to keep it. Even a member with 1 day in the NA fellowship can carry the message that this program works. We began this series by saying recovery is possible, and it is. It is. When we share with someone new, we may ask to be used as a spiritual instrument of our higher power. We don't set ourselves up as gods. We often ask for the help of another recovering addict when sharing with a new person, but it's a privilege to respond to a cry for help, because we who have been in the pits of despair feel fortunate to help others find recovery. We help new people learn the principles of Narcotics Anonymous. We try to make them feel welcome and help them learn what the program has to offer. We share our experience, strength, and hope. Wherever possible, we accompany newcomers to a meeting. The selfless service of this work is the very principle of Step 12. When I first got sober back in the 80s, you could still smoke in public, and there were still recovery houses and recovery rooms and stuff where you could still smoke. As a matter of fact, in most of the meetings back then, you could still smoke. And we laugh about it, but one of the most important jobs you could have back then was emptying the ashtrays. So you'd have some crusty old newcomer who would say, you haven't emptied the ashtrays. I mean, that was like a big deal. By the time you graduated to being a greeter, by the time they trusted you to actually greet people, I mean, all you had to do was to say hi. And if people looked like they were kind of lost or they had that deer caught in the headlights look, you could help them find the coffee pot. And by the time you graduated to being able to make the coffee at the meeting, oh my gosh, you had arrived. By the way, I never did graduate to making coffee. I don't know why. I got to do all of the kinds of service, but I didn't like the coffee most of the time in the rooms because it wasn't strong enough for me. And maybe that's why they didn't let me make it, because they knew I was going to make it stronger. But that was a big deal. We come in about as beat down as somebody can get. And so being given the privilege of emptying the ashtrays, we don't have ashtrays anymore, but helping to set up the room, being a greeter. All a being greeter is just saying hi to somebody and shaking their hand, maybe ask their name, all depending on how they show up. There are some people who are shaken so bad when they get to meetings, they can't hold a full cup of coffee. And so a good greeter knows not to fill that cup too full for them. Maybe fill it a third because their hands are shaking so bad. See, these are the things we understand because this is us. We're looking in a mirror. Whatever that person looks like, they may not be the same gender, they may not be the same race, they may not be the same height, but we're looking at ourselves, and the newcomers remind us of where we've come from. And the reason we are here today, clean and sane and able to hold a cup of coffee and able to set up and break down the tables is because a power greater than ourselves reached out and caught us before we hit the ground. We help people learn the principles of Narcotics Anonymous. We try to make them feel welcome and help them learn what the program has to offer. We share our experience, strength, and hope, and we teach people what this thing is, and we teach them everything. By the time people get up a little bit of nerve and start to share, we help them learn how to share. Some meetings, a lot of meetings nowadays, especially on Zoom, are timed. You only get 3 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever, because sometimes people will just talk and talk and talk, especially when we're new and we're not used to anybody listening to us. It feels so good to be able to talk and have people who like you and understand you. And so we teach people that we put boundaries around things, including time. It's like if you need to talk to somebody for more than 3 minutes, we get it. We'll be here after the meeting. Somebody will call somebody, text somebody, but you don't get to take up the whole meeting. We teach people how to share, like there's certain things you don't share, even in a meeting with other addicts. Relapse does happen. You don't want to say something in a meeting when somebody goes and relapses and starts telling your business. You got to be smart about what you share. A lot of people know people and you don't know who they know. And you're talking about how your boss's wife is having an affair with the mailman, and somebody in that room knows where you work and who your boss is. Like, we teach people how to live, how to come back and be part of the human race. But most of all, what we teach people is that in this place, you are safe. In this place, you are loved. In this place, we understand. The first way we carry the message speaks for itself. People see us on the street and remember us as devious, frightened loners. Some of us living like animals. And they start to notice the fear leaving our faces. They see us gradually come alive. Once we find the NA way, boredom and complacency have no place in our new life. When I hear a newcomer say they're bored, oh my goodness, so what are you doing about that? Tell me about your days and your hours. See, if you think that the God of my understanding anyway helped you get clean so that you could stay home and binge watch certain networks 24/7, no. And I'm not speaking against binge watching anything. That's your thing. But I'm saying that when you have been brought back from the abyss, when I have been brought back from the abyss, when I was going down, down, down in quicksand, and something reached out, and as my ancestor said, got to hold of me, pulled me out of that. Every day of my life, I am so grateful. I am so grateful. Later today, I am going away for 4 days to a recovery conference. And there will be a big meeting with hundreds of people every night, actually thousands of people. And there will be speakers and there'll be fellowship and all that kind of stuff. And I have my 20-year medallion. It's on a chain, and I will wear that proudly everywhere I go. Because if this town does not know that a whole bunch of recovering people are coming, they're gonna know it by the time we leave. But they know the schedule. We go the same place every year. And I will wear that medallion proudly, because these 20 years have been a life not of my own making. These 20 years have been so sweet. I happen to believe that I needed that 7-year relapse, and I would not wish that on anybody. I do not tell people relapse is part of the process. What I say to people is you never have to use again. You never have to be alone again. If you choose to pick up again, we will be here for you. Nobody will judge you or condemn you. Welcome home. But you don't have to do that anymore. But I believe, because I was a hard-headed, proud drunk and addict, and I think I needed the humiliation of that 7 years for me to appreciate the gift of each day of recovery. That I don't have to worry about where I'm gonna get it, how much it's gonna cost, do I have enough? Will I have to borrow from Peter to pay Paul? Will I have to cheat, lie, steal, sell my body to get what I need? I don't have to live like that today. The life that I have is a life that God has given to me one day at a time. The NA Big Book says we find joy as we start to learn how to live by the principles of recovery. It is the joy of watching as a person 2 days clean says to a person with 1 day clean, an addict alone is in bad company. It is the joy of watching a person who was struggling to make it suddenly, in the middle of helping another addict stay clean, become able to find the words needed to carry the message of recovery. We feel that our lives have become worthwhile. Spiritually refreshed, we are glad to be alive. When we were using, our lives became an exercise in survival. Now we are doing much more living than surviving. You know, a lot of addicts, I think it's probably true to say most addicts, we are also addicted to drama. I mean, we love drama. And so many of us are so accustomed to drama and chaos that living free is actually uncomfortable. I mean, it feels weird and uncomfortable, and some people don't like it. I heard a sister say that, you know, she was going to all these different meetings, and she said, and it's just the same thing everywhere you go. It's just so redundant, she said. It's just really boring. I said, you don't like being bored, do you? She said, no, who likes being bored? And I said, clean and sober people like being bored. Yeah, we do. We do. We love not living in chaos. We love not living with constant drama swirling around us. Now, I'm not talking about the choices that other people make in their lives. I mean, we don't have any control over that. I hope that's clear by now. We don't have control over the choices that they make, but we don't have to be part of the drama, and we don't have to be part of the chaos. To be in recovery is to understand that. We can go to a meeting, we can call a sponsor, we could call somebody else in the program. You know, we're set up on all these internet platforms now. One of my sisters was seriously wanting to drink recently. And she thought, well, I don't want to drink because I know where that's going to take me. So she was about to call her dealer, just like a little weed isn't going to hurt anything. But instead, she reached out, and I wasn't part of that particular call, but a bunch of people put together a real quick group thing for her using one of the platforms. And all of a sudden, there was an impromptu meeting with 39 people on it. 39 people logged on, and they had a little extemporaneous meeting right there. They listened to her, and they shared their own experience, strength, and hope with crazy families and crazy jobs and all of that. That's how we stay clean and sober. We walk each other through. And now she's in a meeting crying her eyes out. They did that for me. For me, 39 people stopped their lives, put their lives on hold to show up for me. Yes. Yes. That's who we are. And that's what we do. Because that's who we are. Because we are so grateful for the clean time, sobriety, the clear head, the healthy lives, the restored families. We are so grateful. The NA Big Book says the lessons we learn in recovery are sometimes bitter and painful. By helping others, we find the reward of self-respect as we are able to share these lessons with other members of Narcotics Anonymous. We cannot deny other addicts their pain, but we can carry the message of hope that was given to us by fellow addicts in recovery. We share the principles of recovery that have worked in our lives. God helps us as we help each other. Life takes on a new meaning, a new joy, and a quality of being and feeling worthwhile. Yes, we are a vision of hope. We are examples of the program working. The joy that we have in living clean is an attraction to the addict who still suffers. We do recover to live clean and happy lives. Welcome to NA. The steps do not end here. The steps are a new beginning. I hope that in this time that you have heard the message that recovery is possible. People are recovering every day, all over the world are recovering. We are recovering and we are helping one another. I will remind you where we started. If you are a person who loves someone or lives with someone who in recovery, there is help for you as well, because we are impacted by the using of the people we love. And so if the primary issue is alcohol, there is a program, a 12-step program based on Alcoholics Anonymous called Al-Anon, Al-Anon. If the primary issue is drugs, there is a program called Nar-Anon, Nar-Anon. So those programs are for people who may or may not have their own addictions, but who are there because of the addictions of people they love. When I got clean and sober the first time, after a couple of years, I started attending Al-Anon meetings, and then I started working the Al-Anon program really hard because none of the people I loved got clean and sober with me. None of them. I thought they would see my life and they would want what I had, but that's not how it worked out. My mother, my father, and my stepfather all drank themselves to death. My ex finally did get clean years later. So in order to stay sane, in order to have any kind of a relationship with them, I had to go to Al-Anon for my own sake. If you have a loved one who is suffering with mental illness, there is an organization, a national organization called NAMI, N-A-M-I, the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill. They also have peer-to-peer support for the families of persons suffering with mental illness. Sometimes people who are addicted are also mentally ill in some other ways. They often go together. That's called dual diagnosis. And so NAMI also can be a source of help. All of these Al-Anon, Nar-Anon, and NAMI you can find on the internet. Just drop them into a search and you will find the contact information. Look for the organization in your area. Meeting schedules are posted on Al-Anon and Nar-Anon sites. Recovery is possible. I'm a living, walking, breathing proof. If the God of my understanding could take a prideful, pitiful addict like me and clean me up and set me on a new path, that same higher purpose, higher power, God can do it for you, can do it for the ones you love. We have only the requirement to want to. So the only requirement for membership, it is a desire to stop drinking, a desire to stop drugging, a desire to stop using. Recovery is possible for all of us. And I pray that it will be so for you. Thank you for the opportunity to have shared my experience, strength, and hope, and the resources of Narcotics Anonymous for these 12 video sessions. Peace to you.